Hello, everyone. How are you doing? We have a very special guest here. In between him moving furniture into his new $4.1 million house during a Boeing strike, to him being a former CEO of where the MCAS system was manufactured, Rockwell Collins, we have a very special guest. I'd like to introduce to you Robert Kelly Oberg. Robert, thank you so much. I think you could call yourself Kelly Oberg. Thank you very much for coming in today, even though there's a strike going on, and I'm sorry to stop your movers from moving, but you just came and they're still moving you into your house. I find that, but it's only me, I find that in bad taste. You should have put that house off to the side until the strike was over. And my feeling is, Robert, is that David Calhoun, the former CEO that you took the job from, I was there. I'm going to show all of this mess to you very shortly, but this video today is about QA expert and Boeing shareholder. Daryl Guberman educates Boeing board member and CEO, Robert Kelly Oberg, concerning Boeing itself. I'd like you to take a seat there, Bob. I don't know whether you possibly received David Calhoun's book. The booklet that we sent to all 11 board members. You were not part of that at the time. I sent it to David Calhoun, who most of the time I heard resides up in New Hampshire. That's where he managed from his household. Robert, as you know, I don't need to show you your timeline because you already knew it. But during your time at Rockwell Collins, you were the CEO that under your tutelage there, or under your leadership, the MCAS system was designed, manufactured, and implemented on Boeing 737 MAX. I don't know if you know this, but I showed up at the Sam Salapore meeting on April 17th, a whistleblower for the 777, 787 aircraft. I held up 2 pieces of paper. By the way, Robert, let me just call you out here. I wasn't invited. It was an open door. Anybody could go. I went there with documentation. I didn't know that I was going to stand up. I was planning to sit there and listen, but I could not listen anymore. So I was prepared. Those 2 pieces of paper I have, Robert, shows that Boeing gave up supplier on-site audit for special processes and also parts in general to 2 certificates. For 22 years, they were not doing on-site audits. I, as a quality professional, would like to see from 2002 onward those parts that came in and were put on the aircraft. Because in 2017, when Boeing was still an FAA regulator, which we're going to show you, in 2017, Boeing, let me just show it to you. Boeing was caught falsifying documentation on the metal that was going into the aircraft. Most recently, Robert, if I may say so, I'll bring you out again. Most recently, Boeing and V-22 composite facility in Pennsylvania got fined $8.1 million by the DOJ for not writing proper times, temperatures down. And I, as a composite specialist, that's my background, Kevlar, boron, graphite, fiberglass. In composites, I don't know if you know this, I know you're an engineer, but time, temperature, and pressure are at the critical moments. If one of those are off, you will have a problem with the part. So Boeing got caught from 2007, here it is, 2017, fudging documentation on their steel putting into the aircraft, and then most recently from 2007 to 2018 on the V-22 Boeing composite facility in Pennsylvania. I was there watching David Calhoun June 18th. I was there at that meeting. 2013, I gave a speech at the American Society for Quality, which owned ANAB 50%, and ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, owned ANAB, which is the American National Accreditation Board, 50%. David Levy was sent there, Region 3 Director, to destroy me. But he said instead, ANAB has no problem with what you're doing. In fact, we support you, sir. And as things went on, we've tried to get into Boeing or Lockheed Martin. And we have a little bit, but not as where we should be. In the middle, you'll see you'll see, Robert, you'll see Randy Doherty, who at the time was the vice president of ANAB, chairman of the IAF, and also principal on the IF 990 tax form. He was handing leadership over to Zhao Jinwu, the Chinese Communist National, who is mandated by his country of origin to take our data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. He is also, at that time, the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services. On this side of the world, you see Randy inviting us to join either ANAB or IF or both. And I, as a proud American, how could I do this? Robert, honestly, I'm a proud American. Do you think I'm going to join ANSI, ANAB, or IAF when they had a communist Chinese national between 2015 and 21? You've got to be kidding me. Next, ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental corporation having federal agencies and corporations on board. They've been around for over 100 years. ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018, Robert. Also, they sat on the IF International Accreditation Forum with all their federal agencies and corporations on board. At that time, you will find out that many of them got their information taken. The issue here, too, is that ANSI, ANAB are underwriters for the International Accreditation Forum, which is an association of accreditation bodies, both national and international, and also their sister organization, the ILAC, International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation in Australia. They are underwriters, which means they take all legal responsibility, both systematic and product failure. This shows that ANSI was the founder of the IAF along with ANAB, the American National Crediting Board, as you see here. As I told you, we were going to show Zhao Jinwu in the laboratory in Wuhan, China in 2017. He gave a laboratory certificate as the chairman of the IF and the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services in Beijing to an ill-prepared laboratory. Why? We'll bring up Pamela Sale first. She's the vice president of ANSI ANAB Laboratory accreditation, and she said from one laboratory there are variances and they lack protocol, which means she confessed to the release of the COVID virus. Yes, she did. In 2018, Robert, they had a contingency of the United States go over to Wuhan, WIV, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and all the scientists were complaining that they needed more trained technicians because a CDC document in 2019, volume 25, I think it is, stated that any well-run bio-level 4 laboratory, highly contagious pathogens, any well-run laboratory must have quality technicians, trained technicians, because human error is the first wave of how a virus like COVID escapes. They needed trained technicians, and they didn't have enough. So Zhao Jinwu gave a laboratory certificate to an ill-prepared laboratory. Here's this. And there you go. You can read that. Here's Boeing. I want to get done with this pretty quickly so that you get the whole gist of it. Robert, over here, Boeing sits on ANSI ANAB's board, and they force it down the throats of their suppliers and subcontractors. This most recently came down from ANSI ANAB's website. They do not have this anymore. The reason why is on the Management System Accreditation Committee. Boeing sits there. They can grant, suspend, or withdraw certification. That's an impropriety, if I ever heard one. For 22 years, Robert, Boeing gave up supplier on-site auditing for both special processes and also parts, whether they're critical or whether they're not. Just send in your certificate. As long as with the AS9100, the procurement bulletin, which is July, and you have the special processes in April, just send in your certificate for the parts, whether they're the components, whether they're flight safety or not. As long as it's ANSI ANAB accredited on the certificate, send in your certificate, send your parts, and we don't have to do any on-site audits. 2009, Boeing was made an FAA regulator, actually an agency of the FAA. They didn't have to tell the FAA or anybody about the MCAS system or aircraft designs until 2019, 10 years later. When they made, by the way, the FAA made some of the employees of Boeing FAA inspectors, but Boeing was paying their salary. Isn't that a tender moment? And they would report most of the issues that they were occurring on the floor at Boeing to the FAA. In 2019, when the Ethiopian Air and Indonesian Air crashed, an FAA spokesperson came out and said, "We never let companies police themselves or self-certify." That's a lie. This came off the a Boeing supplier portal that said it must the companies must be ANSI ANAB accredited, third-party register, or internationally equivalent. You have the factor, you have these federal agencies, DOJ, DHS, FAA, and Boeing. Boeing, the company, sits on ANSI ANAB. DOJ also sits on ANSI ANAB's board, the accreditation body for Boeing. And here you have, they are not just customers. They are not just members, they are customers. Department of Homeland Security, Department of Justice, FDA, and also Department of Commerce. I leave it here, 203-556-1493, or Daryl, TQRS, @yahoo.com. I thank you very much.